Welcome everyone to episode 10 of We Are Family. I'm here with Pirate Peyton and Nathan Schivins, and we got a lot of national sports to cover. Really, I mean, we'll be talking about a little bit about Pittsburgh, but with wild card playoffs, NFL week going on, like there's a lot to cover. So we're kind of excited to get going, and we're gonna start with the wild cards. So obviously, the Royals advanced, the Padres advanced, the Tigers advanced, and the Mets advanced. So let's kind of briefly discuss. Whoever wants to go first, go ahead.
Nate, it's all yours, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the big headlines so far with these wild card games is the Brewers and the Orioles continuing to choke in the
It's
wild
10
card.
straight for the Orioles.
The Orioles haven't won a playoff game since what was that 2015? I think 2015 or 20. I don't remember, but it's been a while. I think it was against the Royals if I'm not mistaken, but yeah, so that was a big. And the Orioles this year, you were thinking expectations were even higher than last year. Nobody really anticipated the Orioles would win almost like 100 games last year. And when they, lost in the wild card last year, it was like, okay, it's their first year. They're really young players, and they're still very young this year too. The window is open for this team for several years if they execute right. But they really need to fix their starting pitching and their bullpen. Their pitching in general was not where it needed to be. Corbin Burns is now a free agent, so I don't know how they're going to re-sign him. And they really need some health from their starting pitchers, and they need Felix Bautista back, and he needs to be because they got rid of Craig Kimbrell. He was really bad this year, especially late. And Yennier Cano is really good, but he's a setup guy. He's not a closer. And yeah, I mean overall their bullpen's pretty good, but they don't have that one guy that can like shut down a team in the playoffs, and that's really what I mean. And they didn't score they didn't do anything offensively really, which is the thing that's really the strength of their team. The young hitters didn't really do anything, and the Royals with their not great offense, and Bobby Wood Jr. came up clutch in both games, and the Royals end up squeaking by.
I mean, about the Orioles, we kind of saw that they probably weren't going to be in the playoffs that long because of the injuries they had on the pitching side. If you're an Orioles fan, there's no need to be. I mean, I know they have like a 10-game losing streak in the playoffs, but the Orioles are going to be fine. They're structurally solid with the young players they have, and they'll keep. I mean, we saw they added Corbin Burns. They're willing to add to the rotation. They just got to stay healthy on the pitching side. But if I'm an Orioles fan, what I'm disappointed is you didn't lose that game, that series because of your pitching.
Right.
Like, where was the offense?
Right.
There was
Yeah.
no offense in that series. And I mean, your lineup's supposed to be really, really good. And that's the thing with the 3-game series. I mean, you got to be ready to go, and you have to be hot. You know what I mean? It doesn't, like Gunnar Henderson, he didn't do all that much. But baseball's hard. Like, even the best players are going to have bad periods at the absolute wrong time. And that, I feel like the Orioles and the Brewers are a little in the same boat, although the Orioles, I think, have more talent overall. But they both have great farm systems, a lot of young players. They both had misfortune going into the postseason because the Orioles, lost some pitchers, and they need some help with their pitching still. And the Brewers didn't have Christian Yelich. He's the heart and soul of that team. I know Adames had like over 100 RBIs, but Christian Yelich is the face of that franchise. And the Mets were about to Met. They were about to Met, and then Pete Alonso. I mean, he's been one of the faces of that franchise for a long time. The biggest swing of his career. And the Brewers almost had. I don't think they would have went much farther in the playoffs, but their pitching was pretty solid, and their lineup. I mean, there's some sneaky guys in that lineup, and they had some guys come up big that you wouldn't expect. But Devin Williams. It's kind of like, they probably missed Josh Hader a little bit there. In
I
that
think
situation.
they overused him a little bit too. He was pitching a lot, so.
Yeah. But I think if you're a Brewers fan, Orioles fan, I'm not too worried about the future. Both young teams, especially the Brewers. I mean, the Brewers, we thought they might finish lower than the Pirates, but that's because we're fools and we're Pirates fans. Yeah, I mean, and then so we talked about both of those series. I don't know if you had anything else.
Well,
to
just
add
with
on
the
that.
Mets Brewers, I
Yeah.
mean, the Mets, for them, the magic continues in the late innings. I mean, against Atlanta, coming up clutch with Lindor. I mean, that homer he hit, I didn't think it was gonna go out at first, and then it like snuck over, and he didn't even have no reaction. And they get that huge. That was a crazy game. And then there against the Brewers, 2-0. Perfect situation really for the Brewers. You're bringing your closer in with a nasty changeup, fastball combination, and Pete Alonso was on that, and he gave up, a little bit of trouble. Devin Williams, you were still confident, but then Pete Alonso, he was not good at all recently, and especially in those first 2 games in the playoffs. But he came up clutch there, and the
He's a
add-on
home
run was big
guy.
too.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
a home
big
run
time.
guy. He can slug.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been on and off, but I think Devin Williams, like he was just leaving the ball over the plate a lot, and then when you give up a leadoff walk in an inning, I mean this is kind of a known baseball thing, like that usually means trouble. Not always, but that means trouble. And then, what's his name? Not McNeil, Nimmo. He's always a pain in the butt. Like he's getting his bat
He's a
on
good
the ball.
player.
He's a great contact
Yep.
guy. Just an all-around great player. He gets. And I was like, I actually had a feel. Sometimes you get a gut feeling. I was like, I think Pete Alonso might do something here. And yeah, that was. I mean, he knew it as soon as it was gone. But you talk about how the late inning, right? Like, baseball is one of those sports. Like, I think all sports have this, but it's really about chemistry.
Absolutely.
And like the Mets with their OMG thing,
Grimace.
with and their manager seems like a fun guy. This is he has that
I like him
accent.
a lot,
He's just
yeah.
like
Yeah.
he seems like just like a guy you'd want to be around. You have to have the right chemistry, the right manager. I mean, the Mets aren't. Coming into the year, we didn't think the Mets were all that good.
They started off terrible.
And they
Like,
started
were
off
bad.
really bad. And look where they're at. It's all about just catching the momentum and riding the momentum. And they're one of those teams with the momentum. And another one of those teams, I mean, to a whole nother level, is the Detroit Tigers. I mean, what they have done is unbelievable. I remember looking up in late September, because once football starts, I kind of get a little out of it. I'm like, the Tigers, they're what, 2 games? What? The Tigers? Like, I thought, they were long out of it. Everyone talks about how bad Javi Baez is. It's just kind of like a joke with that situation. But Javi Baez isn't around. All of a sudden, here come the Gritty Tigers. The Gritty Tigers. And it's not like they have a bunch of great players. Like, the Mets have some stars. The Tigers, Kerry Carpenter, Kerry Carpenter is really, 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 really a great player. But other than that, it's kind of like they just got a bunch of, and they just got hot at the right time. And I don't think they're gonna. I mean, I could see them beating the Guardians possibly, but because I don't know if they're really talented enough. But I've never seen a team sell at the deadline, at least in my lifetime. Sell at the deadline, sell one of their best pitchers, and make the playoffs with like almost a 0% chance.
Yeah, I want to talk about the Tigers a lot. I'm repping the Seawolves. The
Seawolves.
Double A. I watched a lot of those guys live, so I'm rooting for the Tigers for sure. Riley Green, like he was one of the first players I ever saw live. I saw Spencer Torkelson threw on homer in my first game, so I was like, yeah, I'm sold. So, but yeah, no, Riley Green has been fantastic, and Kerry
I forgot
Carpenter.
about Riley Green.
But Kerry
yes.
Carpenter, he was a guy that was always like a decent hitter. Then out of nowhere, like a couple years ago, he was just amazing in the minor leagues, and he gets a promotion. He doesn't skip a beat. And it's really cool to see. Like, he wasn't supposed to be this, like, #1 prospect or anything. Like, he worked hard, and, the results came through. And I also wanted to touch base on the Orioles a little bit, too, because you know how they had the bye last year, and they were complaining, the bye, that screws us because we have all that rest. And, they still got swept in the division. So, like, now there's no more excuses. And I know the ownership is new, and they seem like they're aggressive. Obviously, they got Corbin Burns, so I'm sure they're going to be a little bit more aggressive. But is there anything else you guys wanted to add about the wild card?
I want to talk about the Tigers, not about the Tigers. Because if you really think about it, the Tigers are a cool story, right? I don't think they're going to do all – they're a really cool story. But they are hot, so they're dangerous.
Yeah.
But I think what this series is about is possibly the end of an era with the Houston Astros. And I think – because the Orioles and the Brewers, like, they have bright futures. I'm not too worried about those teams. But the Astros – I mean, we saw what they did at the deadline. This GM for them just seems a little bit off. I mean, you're trading for Yusei Kikuchi, who's a free agent next year. I don't know. Did he even pitch in this series? Or is he hurt? Or what happened?
No, he's healthy. I know Valdez pitched the first game.
Yeah.
I don't remember who pitched the second
So
game.
he
I
didn't even
see
get the
it.
pitch of the playoffs. You gave up all those prospects. I mean, they're just getting older. There's not a lot of young pieces I know of coming up, or I've seen coming up. I don't know how their farm system is ranked, but Altuve's getting older. Everyone's getting older. The pitching staff is getting older, and Dusty Baker isn't there anymore. I mean, they're still gonna be good, but the Rangers, I think they had a down year. I think they're gonna be back. The Mariners are always around, I guess, and the A's are only gonna get better. Like they have a bunch of young guys coming up, and they're getting better. The Angels are a mess, but I mean the Astros I think will hang around for a couple more years. But I think this is the sign of possibly an end of an era. I mean I know 7 straight NLCSs. We shouldn't like just say the Astros are done, but I have some issues with the GM. And I don't know about the manager. I even forget who their manager is right now. But
Yeah, and Bregman's a free agent.
Yeah.
And
that's
like
a
like
core
you
of their
mentioned, so I mean Altuve's gonna be there. He's signed long term. I don't think Alvarez is long term, but he still has a few more years
Yeah,
of
I mean,
and
arbitration.
Kyle Tucker is great.
Kyle
Yeah.
Tucker's really good. They're still gonna be good. I'm not really worried about. I hear it like 7 straight and everything, and then the wild card. But I felt like everyone thought that was maybe gonna happen. Just
Yeah.
like the feel of the series,
Yeah.
just because
Right.
the Tigers
And
are so hot.
They weren't as dominant this year. I mean,
Yeah.
the Astros were up and
And,
down
and
all
they
year.
and it probably took a lot out of them,
Yeah.
try having to come
Fighting.
back all those games,
Right.
every game being so meaningful, and then you get into the playoffs and you run into Tarek Skubal, no one's beating.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the Tigers win that game, against
Right.
anybody probably.
They almost came back in the 9th inning, game 1. The
Oh, for
Astros.
sure.
Yeah, they
They
did.
did that against the Mariners. Was that 2 years ago? They were down like
yeah.
3-0 in the
Yeah.
9th. I thought it was just deja vu.
Right.
And but I'm just worried. Like they still have their core players, but they're getting older.
Yeah.
The pitching is
It's
not
always
as
hurt.
dominant.
It's always hurt.
hurt.
I mean, McCullers is hurt every year. I mean,
Yeah.
Javier is out this year, right? There was Garcia was out a lot this year.
I think
I just
all
don't
of them
trust
are
Urquidy
gone.
was out. I mean,
Yeah.
this is like a.
The big thing is I just don't trust this new GM. I mean
Yeah.
that trade. I don't know what the Kikuchi thing. It just didn't make a lot of
Well,
sense.
I
to
think
me.
I think he was feeling a lot of pressure. Feel like he was a little bit desperate there because
You
I
can't
think.
be desperate.
Well, I
You
think
can
he
never act
sees.
desperate.
I think he sees the writing on the wall here about the future of this team and kind of the dynasty,
Yeah.
quote unquote, may be
Yeah.
over here, with like you mentioned the aging team and everyone being hurt all the time. So, I think that might have been a kind of rush of judgment thing because he gave up a lot for him.
Well, yeah. I mean, that pretty much summed it up. I mean,
we
it was
didn't
a
talk
crazy-
about the Padres. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
they bullied the
Yeah,
Braves.
yeah.
You kind of figured that was going to happen. The
Braves are
Braves aren't
just-
a.
Yeah.
They'll be back. You
Yeah.
know, they just had guys who didn't perform as well this year. They had some injuries.
They had Eli White getting meaningful at bats
yeah,
and
that's
the
true.
end of the
I don't
game.
even know who that
Whit
is.
Merrifield.
So that goes
Yeah.
what's to tell you. Whit Merrifield used to be pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Padres. I mean, all of these series, and that's what we're getting into next
Yep.
is these games.
Yep.
All of these series are so interesting. I think it's great for the league. Mets, Phillies, two
Oh, yeah.
big markets, division rivals. Tigers, Guardians, the underdog story for both of those teams.
The Yankees. Anytime the
Yeah,
Yankees
big
are
dog
involved.
against
Yeah.
the little dog.
Yeah.
Yankees against the Royals. Of course, if the Yankees are involved, right? Bobby Witt, who's becoming one of the faces of the game against Judge and Soto.
Yeah,
There's just so many
The
good
two front runners
storylines.
for AL MVP.
Right.
It's probably gonna be Judge. It probably
Yeah, I
should
mean,
be Judge,
Judge
but
is- yeah. And then what's the what am I
Dodgers
forgetting?
Padres.
No, I said that. Dodgers, Padres, Mets, Phillies, Yankees, Royals,
I guess
and
Guardians.
Tigers
Tigers.
and Guardians.
oh, I guess I did mention all of them. But yeah, like there's something juicy there about all of those series. It's very good for baseball.
Yeah. Well, I mean, speaking of these matchups, who you guys got in each round? We'll go all the way to the World Series as well. I don't know who wants to start.
Which game we want to start? NL. We could do
Let's go from NL to AL.
Okay. Mets Phillies. I really want to take the Mets. I feel like they're really hot right now. I feel like, but I think I do think the Phillies get it done. But I think it's a really close series. They match up well against each other.
Well, this is the first time the Phillies have a bye too. While
That's
they've been
true.
on, you
They've
know, so
usually
it'll be
been
interesting.
they've been the wild card team,
Yeah.
benefiting from the Braves being on a bye
Yep.
when they play them. So I mean that certainly could happen. I could easily see the Mets winning this series, but I think it definitely will go 5. But I'm gonna take the Phillies.
So here's something interesting about this series, and I found this out last night. So the Phillies have been around that organization because they were the Philadelphia Athletics, right, since the 1890s, early 1900s, whatever. And the Mets have been around since 1962. This is the first time the Mets and the Phillies are meeting in the playoffs ever.
Wow.
Ever. Which I think is so interesting. The fact that they're in the same division. I mean, it wasn't always like that, I don't think, but so that is an interesting nugget. Yeah, the Mets. I mean, let's be honest. It took them. I mean, that was kind of a miracle last night. What happened? Not a miracle, like teams have, but in that situation to be that clutch, and the Brewers. I mean, I just don't think the Mets are all that good. They're a great story, great momentum, great manager, a lot of cool star players. But the Phillies are a great baseball team. They've been here the last 2 years. The only advantage the Mets have is the pressure is on the Phillies. But the Mets pitching is the starting pitching is better, and the lineup. The Mets lineup is not bad compared to some of these teams in the playoffs, but the Phillies just are too good of a team. I think the Phillies win in 3 or I don't know if they're not going to sweep. I think, and that's another point. I think a lot of these series are going to be close. Especially, there's 3 series, they're divisional matchups. So these teams know each other. They know they're trying to make the next adjustment. And I think that's going to make things tighter than so. I mean, I think there could be some divisional upsets here, but I like the Phillies. I like the Phillies.
I like them too, just because I know Bryce Harper is really determined to get it done with them, especially because the year after he left the Nationals, they won it all. And he's going to have that chip on that shoulder. Now the Phillies, regular season, they finally won their division. They're kind of rolling. I don't think he's going to let, the bye be an excuse for them. And I don't think that should be an excuse for any team, and I think Harper knows that. I'm not just going to say it's all on him, but, one guy could definitely, impact the motivation of the rest of the guys and how they work together. So I have a feeling.
Well, another point in this is the Phillies kind of have limped into the playoffs. They've been pretty mediocre for the last few months. They've been so far up in the division that they've been able to kind of cruise, and their offense has been a little shaky in the past few months. But yeah, the pressure is on them. But I do think they have the pitching edge. I think they have the slight overall lineup edge. So looking at it that way, I think the Phillies win.
It's a different position this year for the Phillies because they were always the underdog the last couple of years. They just snuck into the wild card and beat the Braves. Now they're what the Braves were.
Yeah.
And the fact that that's true. They have been kind of mediocre. But I think Bryce Harper is one of those players. He just gives a team an edge, a fire underneath their belly. Like no matter, even if things aren't going right.
Yeah.
The Phillies, there's no quit in the Phillies. There's no, mediocrity there. There's no one's gonna be flat. No one's gonna be flat.
Well, the next series we have is we'll stay in the National League. Padres, Dodgers. Who do you guys got?
Yeah, so this is gonna be fun. Am I gonna take the Dodgers to lose in the NLDS again? I think I am. I think they're going with the Padres. Looking at the talent, looking at the starting pitching, the Padres have an edge. The bullpen, the Padres certainly have the edge. And offensively, other than the top 4, really top 5 with Will Smith if he plays well.
Yeah.
The Padres have a deeper lineup with Jackson Merrill.
That's what I'm saying. You could argue. I think you're right. The Padres lineup is deeper. I saw the other night they have Jake Cronenworth batting 8th.
Yeah.
I know he hasn't had his best year, but Jake Cronenworth is a pro.
He'd bat 3rd for us.
And he'd be batting.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest.
He's batting 8th for the Padres.
We might lead him off sometimes just because.
I want to take the Padres. I do. I actually had them. Well, I'm not gonna. I honestly don't know what I'm picking this right now. I'm kind of going back and forth in my head. What I think is a bad loss for the Padres is Joe Musgrove. He just hurt his right elbow. That is
really?
He got pulled from the game. Was that game 1 or game 2? Yeah, and he got pulled from game 2. Right elbow injury. They still have pretty good starting pitching depth. I think the key in this game is because the Padres had like 3 really good starters. Now they only have 2, and we know the Dodgers only have 2 really good starters. That 3rd starter, who is going to step up and be really good? I think that's this series is going to go 5 games.
Yeah,
think.
I agree with you guys. I think Padres will win unless Dave
Oh, I
Roberts.
haven't made my pick.
Oh yeah. Who's
Oh, I'm sorry.
So
Go
you're
ahead.
going. So I'm going with the Dodgers because I think they just. I think Otani. When you talk about star power, Otani is something this team hasn't had. I mean, he is such a clutch factor. And like I said, I like the Padres a little more, but I think the Dodgers with Otani is the difference. I think he's the difference. And I think Dave Roberts needs to
Oh,
win
yeah.
this.
Yeah.
He needs to win this.
Well, that's the pressure's on the Dodgers. Though, like we're talking about pressure, it is important, really, in that, especially in MLB and in NFL, any playoff, really. But the Dodgers have all the pressure on, and I was thinking about picking the Dodgers just because at some point they have to like actually win a playoff series
Yeah.
Yeah.
with all the talent they had. And Otani's a huge difference. That's something that they've missed, just consistent. I know they have Freddie Freeman right there, Mookie Betts, but having three
This
MVP
is
caliber
Otani's
players.
first playoff experience, and I
Yeah.
think he thrives in new situations. I mean, we saw he had this whole gambling situation right over the offseason. Didn't affect him at all. Now he's facing pressure of being in the playoffs. That's not going to affect him at all. He's going to actually thrive because of being at higher stakes, and that's why
Yeah.
I like. I mean, unless the Padres really pitch pitch around him, but you can't pitch around Otani because you have Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman and Teoscar Hernandez and
Well,
Will Smith.
I still have the Padres just in the fact that unless Dave Roberts proves me otherwise, I just don't know if they can get past that divisional round. And the Padres have, even though under new management, like not general manager, but they have a new manager, they still were able to make the championship series more recent and in a full season. So it's just it's hard to trust the Dodgers with. I mean, I like Roberts as a manager, but like. I'm having the Padres. Sorry, not
The Pirates.
Yeah,
Yes.
friendship. Yeah,
Breaking news.
but no, I mean I'm gonna go with the Padres just on the fact that that core has made it there, and I just have trust in them. But the next series we have, what do you guys want to start with first? Royals, Yankees, or Guardians and Tigers?
We can start Royals Yankees.
Go for it.
I think this could be a really close series too, just because I think the Royals have the clear pitching edge, especially in the bullpen. Well, no, actually, not especially the bullpen. Let me take that back. I think it's pretty even in the bullpen, especially in the starting rotation, because Garrett Cole, he needs to be that dog, and he hasn't really looked himself coming back from injury. There's been some really good starts, but some others have been clunkers. Nestor Cortez, they were trying to shop him at the trade deadline, and they didn't get a deal done for another pitcher, so they had decided to keep him. I just don't know with this rotation. I don't know if it's enough, but I think the Royals will stay. I think there'll be a lot of closer games. And a big thing, obviously, would be can the Royals contain Judge and Soto? Because we've seen this with the Yankees. If you can contain Judge, usually, then you're, in a really good spot to win.
Yeah.
But now with Soto, that does add an extra element. It makes it a little tougher with two guys, but it's still two guys. And the Yankees and the Royals both, they need players outside of their two big stars for the Royals, Witt and Perez, and for the Yankees, Soto and Judge to step up. And whoever has that clear third guy who makes the big plays, it could be Michael Massey for the Royals. It could be Giancarlo Stanton for the Yankees. Maybe Alex Verdugo breaks out of his slump, this full season slump. But this will be a really good series. I really want the Royals to win. I'm gonna take the Yankees, but I think it does go 5. I think all of them might go. One of them might go 4, but I think all of them will be really close 5-game series. But I do think the Yankees in the end squeak it out.
I think this is going to be the one series that isn't that competitive. I think the Yankees win relatively easily. The Royals probably do have a pitching edge, and that's what kind of like makes me hesitant in believing that. But if you look at both of these teams' lineups, not very good,
Right.
other than the two star. And like, who are the two stars I'm going to trust the most? And that's Aaron Judge and Juan Soto. And I think the Yankees starting pitching is I know it's been a little but I think these guys are going to step up in the playoffs. Cole, Cease, right, or not Cease.
Rodon.
I always confuse Cease and Rodon.
They have the mustache.
Cole's been there, done that. I think the Yankees win in 4 games.
I agree. I think the Yankees win easily. Like, if they were playing a team like the Padres, I would go with just because the Yankees, they have that tendency to lose in the short rounds. But now that they're playing against a very inexperienced Royals team, I know they swept the Orioles, but so has every other team the past however many years. So like, it is what it is. But I just think other than Michael Walker, with the inexperience they have in the postseason, I think the Yankees are going to step up, and I think once they get past the Royals rotation, I mean, I'm not a big fan of their bullpen. And whenever
Right.
you have Aaron Judge and Juan Soto back to back going up against some guy with a 5 ERA, like that
Yeah.
that might blow some games for them. So I have the Yankees going. With
One
that
note
one.
on this too, like the Royals need a low scoring. They need low scoring games. But to be honest, like, do we trust Carlos Rodon in a big
That's
game?
true, yeah.
Do we trust Nestor Cortez? I trust Garrett Cole. I gotta be
Nestor
honest.
Cortez going to be one of their starters?
He might-
What about
I don't know who.
There's that other guy. I can't remember his name.
They
that's
have,
been pretty good.
Clark Schmidt, I
Clark
guess.
Schmidt, he's
Clark
really-
I
Schmidt.
like him.
solid.
Yeah, I do like
I don't
him.
think. I think they're going to pitch him over Cortez.
But the Royals have an edge too in the ninth inning though, because Lucas Erceg
Oh, that's
is
true.
really so. What I'm thinking, and they might use him. That's what I'm saying. Like when Judge and Soto do come up, the Royals can put him in the game. It doesn't even have to be the ninth inning; it could be
Yeah.
whatever time. And then he's a really good reliever. He
didn't think
he
about
might be
that,
able to
yeah.
shut them down because the Royals bullpen. Yeah, other than him,
Yeah.
it's a lot of John Schreiber
Yeah.
and some question marks. But if they can have a lead and then get Lucas Erceg in the game and then try to preserve
I don't
that,
think
but.
they're gonna have many leads. I know the Royals starting pitching has been good, but I don't know. I feel like they're kind of fraudulent in a way. Like Seth Lugo, like we know how he's been great, but like are
He
the
did have a
Yankees
little
gonna be-
mediocre end to the
That's what
season.
I'm saying. Are
though,
the
Yeah.
Yankees going to be really getting shoved by Seth Lugo?
Maybe it's just like me
Judge and
hoping the
Soto.
Royals
Yeah,
win.
honestly.
Maybe I'm just, but I.
I mean, but I'm saying they're starting pitch. If they shut down Judge and Soto, they have a chance. I just
Yeah.
don't think. I think those guys are going to be really hot.
Well, the last series we have is Guardians Tigers. That you guys got. This is actually a tougher one.
This
than
is
you realize, you know what I
these
mean?
are two pretty similar teams. Other than like in terms of offense, there's not too many. I mean, the Guardians have a little bit of an edge just because Jose Ramirez and Josh Naylor's been good. But for the Tigers, like you were mentioning earlier, Peyton, I mean their lineup doesn't have anybody more than 24 homers, and I can't remember if it was 80 or I think 80 RBIs or something.
like that. Riley Green has been there.
Yeah, he has
Which
like
is just because Carpenter's been hurt, he'd probably
yeah.
be better, but
Yeah, and Torkelson was in the minors for a while. He
Yeah.
probably would have. But so this is it's a really interesting matchup of two kind of lower payroll, lower market teams. With the Guardians starting pitching is very questionable. The Tigers, when they throw Tarek Skubal out there, I'm as confident as any team that they're gonna win. And they've been able somehow to piece this rotation together. They got Cater Montero pitching a lot, and they got some bullpen guys that they were kind of stretching out that they're now using in the rotation. I think the rotation for both of them is not great. I would give the slight edge to the Tigers just because of Tarek Skubal. And in terms of bullpen, the Guardians' bullpen is just crazy good. Will that be sustainable in the postseason? Probably. Colosse's been lights out, and I think that continues. He's been great throughout his career. But I got the Tigers to win, and I think they continue to play well. I think the one team that kind of starts slow with the bye will be the Guardians, and I think the Tigers pull up. I think that because maybe it's just because I haven't been on the Guardians all year. I just don't really see
They
it.
got a bunch of just dudes. They just
Yeah.
got a bunch of
They-
random
they're, but they're
guys.
great at developing those guys, so
Yeah.
it would be interesting.
Right, but the Tigers too got a bunch of
are, yeah.
random dudes, even to like a greater extent, because you look at their lineup and you're like, who's this guy? Who's that guy? Oh wait, they got Austin Meadows' brother playing in center
Yeah.
field. Oh wait, So I think the Tigers. I think the bye affects the Guardians a little bit. I like the Tigers to get to the ALCS.
you have to say Peyton.
I kind of wish I would have picked the Mets, so I would have had an upset, because I don't think the Royals are gonna win. I don't think the Royals are gonna win. I don't think what was the other series?
Padres, Dodgers.
But I think the Padres could win. But anyway, I gotta go with an upset, and I like the Guardians. I do. I really do. But the Tigers are they're the NC State Wolfpack of MLB this year.
Honestly, that's
That
very
is
true.
what they are, and I hate the Guardians always lose in the division series. That's why I want to take I feel like they always just come they always disappoint and they're frauds, and I don't want to believe that they're frauds. I don't. But I'm gonna go with the Tigers just because of just if the Guardians were playing anyone else, I would probably take the Guardians here, but the Tigers. It's just a different situation with them. and they're hot. They're dangerous. They're hot.
Well, for me, I'm gonna go against you guys. I actually have the Guardians, and here's why. The Tigers are red hot, and this is gonna be a competitive series just because it's a divisional series. I mean, it's gonna be close. I just think that the momentum has to end at some point, and that's what happens to teams like this too. The momentum ends, and they face a team that's just gonna beat them. And while the Guardians aren't this dominant team, the Tigers could easily win. I could see that happening, but I don't know. I just feel like once Tariq Skubal and even Reese Olson, once they're not pitching anymore, if the Guardians can split that against those two and go 1-1, I just don't think the Tigers have a chance afterwards. And if they have to go against Clase in a one-run game, like I just don't. I mean, I know they have the momentum. Maybe they could do at least decent against him, but he's given up 5 runs all year. I don't see that ending anytime soon. I mean, he throws a 103-mile-per-hour cutter. Like, come on. Like, I want to root for the Tigers.
It makes sense to pick the Guardians.
Yeah.
It really does. I think it makes more sense.
I'm rooting for the Tigers. I am truly rooting for the Tigers, but I think the Guardians
me too,
come out.
yeah.
The Tigers need to get the leads going into. They need to have a lead going into the 7th, 8th, and 9th.
Exactly.
The question is, will they be able to 3 out of 5 games? Because I think, just with how great the Guardians bullpen has been all year, they have to get the lead, because I feel if they get the lead in 3 out of 5 games, going into the 7th inning, then they have a good shot. But will they be able to do that is the question. I think they can. I think they may be able to, and I think their offense is better than people give them credit for. And but I think it'll be a really good series. Well, I think all these series will be really good.
Well, that's all we have for the MLB. Now we're gonna go to a whole different sport. We got NFL contenders or pretenders. We can start with the contenders if you want. You guys want to name 2 teams each?
Well, we want to talk about teams that have surprised us in a good way or a bad way.
Oh, true. Yeah.
The first team I want to talk about is the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, there's so much. I mean, there's just so much to talk about with them. Sam Darnold. I'm proud of myself because I said that he was gonna have a Baker Mayfield bounce back type year, but the crazy part about it is he's gonna be better than I expected. That's what it's looking right now.
Yeah.
Like now, he's a little erratic sometimes with the interceptions, but O'Connell and him are gelling. I mean, if you think about it, Darnold's arm talent, it's better than what they had with Cousins. I mean, in his mobility, his athleticism, it's better than what they had with Cousins. And obviously it's better with the quarterbacks they had last year when Cousins got hurt. I mean, Darnold might be one of the best quarterbacks they've had there since Culpepper.
Wow.
If you really think about it. And I know it's only 4 games. I know it's Sam Darnold, but he looks better. I know it's only September, so we got to see how he does once it gets into the later months. But the Vikings are for real. I know a lot of people might say they're pretenders, but the reason they're for real isn't even about Sam Darnold. He might be an MVP, even if he kind of dials it back right a little bit, which is probably expected. He's still going to be good. They're going to produce in that offense. But what makes the Vikings so good is their defense. And it's not like they have a bunch of great names on defense. I mean, they have Harrison Smith. How old is he now?
Yeah.
Right? They lost their best pass rusher to the Texans. It's Brian Flores. When you talk about top-of-the-line coordinators, Brian Flores is an A+.
Mm-hmm.
A+. I mean, what he's doing, he's shutting down some of the best offensive minds. Matt LaFleur. I know Jordan Love was hurt and all that, but Matt LaFleur and the Packers. The 49ers with
The
Kyle
Texans.
Shanahan.
Yeah.
The Texans. They're making them look like bums. And Brian Flores he's shutting them down with a bunch of guys. And I know it's early, but that makes them a championship caliber team. And I know their division is tough, but the Lions defense is let's be honest. Campbell, I don't really trust situationally that much. The Packers, I think, are good, but their defense doesn't look nearly as good as I think it's better, but doesn't look nearly as good as Minnesota's. I mean, Minnesota could be an NFC championship team. They could be kind of like the Lions last year.
Wow.
That's what it's looking like to me right now.
Yeah, that was my contender for sure of the surprise teams. It's done really well. I mean, I was going to mention Brian Flores. He's done a great job. C.J. Stroud after the game, remember he said, they showed things that I just have never seen before, right? I mean,
And Stroud is,
Yeah.
I mean, he's advanced
And
for
he's-
his age.
Yeah, no, he's obviously second-year player, but
Right.
still, he's such a great player already that it's just crazy. Yeah, I mean their defense has been great. They got out to the huge lead last week against the Packers, and I mean with their offense, with their skilled players, I mean they can already play with anybody, right? It was just the question was like, will they have a quarterback who can just give them the ball, right? I had some question about J.J. McCarthy. I'm still not really
Yeah.
sold on him, but Sam Darnold's done great. They've not really told
Better
him to
than
do.
I even thought. It's unbelievable.
They haven't had him like doing too much. Just get the ball to Justin Jefferson, get the ball, and they even had some of their skill players too, like Hawkinson. Is he back yet? I don't even.
No.
I think
He's
he's
not
still
even.
hurt. Yeah.
Nope. He's
Yeah, he's been out. I mean, Jordan Addison hasn't really done much so far either. I mean, they're doing great, and I do think they are a contender in the NFC. And a NFC that's kind of wide open right now with some teams that we thought maybe might have been a little better that haven't really. A lot of the contenders are coming from the NFC North right now. I think 3 of them easily
yeah.
to make it to the
Honestly, yeah.
Super Bowl out of the NFC.
Well, a team I want to highlight, I do think they're low key a pretender, but I'm shocked at how good the Commanders have been so far to start. I mean, it's looking like regular season wise, they could be on pace for what the Texans did last year. You know, they had the number 2 overall pick at quarterback, and
It's
he's
literally the same
It is.
situation.
and
It's
yeah,
unbelievable.
and Jaden Daniels looks a lot better than I thought. I thought he was gonna have big time growing pains just because he kind of is like a wild. He was like a wild runner at LSU. He didn't have the discipline to slide. He was kind of just all over the place, but. He looks like he really matured as a quarterback. I think you could give a lot of credit to Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah.
With that, I mean, he definitely hasn't prepared every single day. And, I mean, what he did against the Bengals, I know that both defenses are iffy, but, like, I mean, that's still an NFL defense, and he's a rookie quarterback, and he dialed the Bengals up. Like, and so with same with the Cardinals. I know they were bad last year, but look what they did against the Rams.
Right.
There's these are NFL teams, and he looks great against them. So, I mean, is he going to cool off? Sure. But I'm really surprised at how good the Commanders have been. And will they make the playoffs? I don't know. Will they win the division? Probably not. But if they win, 8 or 9 games, that's a massive improvement to what they had before.
I mean, in that division though, let's
Yeah,
be
I
honest
mean,
with what
they
we've
have a shot.
seen.
They
have a
shot
shot,
for sure.
which
But
is crazy.
And I want to talk about the comparison between last year's Texans and last year's Commanders. Both franchises kind of laughable. Although the
Yeah.
Commanders, they got new ownership, but they both get really good defensive coaches,
Yeah.
right? Defensive coaches that are head coach caliber. Dan
Yeah.
Quinn, obviously, he's done it before, right? So it's a little different. But he brings in a great offensive staff. Cliff Kingsbury, another guy, wasn't his good head coach, but great great coordinator. I mean, him and Jaden are just such a great fit.
Yeah.
He's just very, very smart. And Jaden is, I mean, he's obviously gone way past our expectations, but it's crazy how, like, the second quarterback taken, right, is going to be the rookie of the year, looking like offensive rookie of the year, and going to be the face of that franchise. They're finally going to get their quarterback in Washington. And here's another comparison. The Texans won that division last year. And we were like, no one expected that. No one expected the Commanders to be even contending for the division. But the Cowboys, we don't need to talk about them, right? Like it's just like, okay, like they still might win 8, 9, 10 games, but like we know what the Cowboys are at this point. The Eagles, I don't completely trust Jalen Hurts. Barkley is unbelievable, but their defense is still not very good. I mean, I know Vic Fangio's there, and I think he's gonna help them, but like they're a young defense. They're still getting, like, they have some guys. They might get better, but they don't have like a defensive culture there. And the thing with the Eagles is I don't like the head coach. I mean, you could argue Commanders, I like the quarterback better, I like the head coach better, and I like the offensive coordinator better. And I think they could win this division with maybe even just winning 10 games. Because the Eagles, I just don't trust the Eagles. They should win 10, 11 games, but I don't know. I do think either way, I think the Commanders are going to be a wild card team.
Wouldn't that be something?
And I think their defense looks really bad. It does.
Yeah.
But Dan Quinn's going to get he's a good defensive coach. I mean, the Cardinals' offense is no joke, and they limited them to 14 points. So they're going to get better.
But low key, the Texans.
And they could add at the deadline.
Like the Texans defense didn't look all that great last year either.
No.
C.J. Stroud was in some high-scoring battles. So.
You know what's funny about the Commanders' defense? Remember last year at the trade deadline, they got rid of Chase Young.
Yep.
They got rid of
Montez
Sweat to
Imagine
the Bears.
if they had those guys.
Oh.
Yeah, they sold off at the deadline.
They
and
got Washington had like one of the most amount of picks.
Yeah.
Right.
They got all these
It
picks.
makes
Look at
sense.
this Luke
Yeah,
McCaffrey. McCaffrey's
Yeah,
brother. He's a
yeah.
nice weapon for them.
Yeah.
I mean, they're drafting and developing well.
For
It's
sure.
a great coach.
And I was high on the Commanders. I thought, high on them this year was like 7 wins.
Yeah.
But because I really like Jane Daniels, I was like, the Bears are going to pick Caleb Williams, and in the end, it's not going to work out. We'll see. It's
Yeah.
very early. I'm not trying to toot my own horn or nothing, but I like Jane Daniels like coming in just because he has all that experience. He was in an Arizona State team that was not good,
Yeah.
and there was like I saw a video where they were like openly like making fun of him like in the law. It was just not a good environment.
Yeah,
Did you
that's
see
probably
that?
why he transferred. If I'm being
Yeah, and then he
honest.
went to LSU and he just lit it up there.
Yeah.
And I mean, he just like you mentioned, he just carved up that Bengals defense, which
He's gonna have to add some weight. Like
Yeah.
I worry about
For
his
sure.
weight.
yeah, definitely.
But I think his passing is just so much more impressive than we thought it would
Yeah.
be. And
I think it's just an
Yeah.
adjustment he made. Realizing this is the NFL now. So.
I'm trying to. What's some disappointing teams?
Oh, I got one.
Go ahead.
Well, Jacksonville. Like for me, obviously,
Yeah.
I had them winning the division, and they're 0-4. It's like the definition of disappointing for me. Yeah, I mean, they've been in a couple close games. They should have won in week 1 against Miami. They're gonna look back on that one. They should have beat the Browns the next week. They got blown out by the Bills, and then they probably should have beat the Texans last week. Like they've been in 3 of the 4 games they could easily won.
I just, there's some like things I could kind of just based on what I hear and watching the game now for a while, I can kind of figure out okay what this is and what this is. But the one thing I cannot understand or figure out, as we have some background noise, ladies and gentlemen, it's coming. You probably can't hear that, but we heard that. But anyway, what was I saying? The Jaguars.
Jaguars.
I cannot figure out why Trevor Lawrence is bad. Why is he bad? What has happened? Because he was good. I mean, they were 5-2 or whatever last year.
Yeah.
They look what they did 2 years ago in the playoffs. What he did. I mean, he looked like the definition of a franchise quarterback. He's got the swag, but he's not too cocky by any means. He's tall, athletic, big arm. I mean, he looked like number one, like one of the most sure things at the number 1 overall pick, and he was really good. Well, of course, with Urban Meyer the 1 year, but that was
Yeah.
a whole other situation. And Doug Pearson's I thought was a pretty good coach. I mean, look, he brought them Jags back to the playoffs, and all of a sudden, these last 7, 8 games, it's just like he's like Daniel Jones, and it just doesn't make sense. And I think there just has to be a coaching change. That's the only explanation I have for it.
I think I may have a little bit of a theory.
Please.
So, a lot of the times, you see some of the best quarterbacks in the game. A lot of them have faced adversity early on. Like, Josh Allen, he had to grind to be able to get any D1 interest. Joe Burrow, he had to leave a crowded Ohio State room to be able to flourish.
He came from nowhere.
Yeah. And a guy like Trevor Lawrence, he was the number 1 quarterback out of his high school class. Started right away at Clemson. Not like everything was handed for him. Obviously, he earned that. But he didn't go through true adversity until his first season. And obviously, Urban Meyer, that situation is bad. But whenever you have a quarterback facing true adversity for the first time during their rookie season in the NFL, it's not good. And I know Lawrence had that good second year, but now it's not where he's going to be on teams loaded with talent. He can just do whatever he wants. Now this is the NFL. His division's getting a lot tougher now. I think it's just the lack of adversity he had to face. And now I know, obviously, he faced the adversity in the NFL, but I think that's the only explanation. I mean, obviously, coaching could be a little bit iffy, but it's just if you look at these other quarterbacks, I mean, look at all the number 1 quarterbacks that come out of college. Like, other than, C.J. Stroud and even Trevor Lawrence for that time being a Matthew Stafford, I mean, a lot of these guys were 3 stars out of high school, really had to grind to start in college, and they flourished in the NFL just because they're already used to that type of adversity. So that's my only explanation.
Plus, it's not like
But he faced that adversity and he overcame it. And then he had that injury last year, and we thought, okay, well maybe he just played bad because of the injury, but now he's still bad. And this offensive coordinator for them seems like a joke. Like you kind of look at his name. I forget his name. It's like, ugh. It feels like a Matt Canada kind of situation. But you have Doug Peterson, so it just doesn't. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. I'm just saying, like, it's not like they don't have any weapons. I mean, they went and got Gabe Davis in the offseason. They got Brian Thomas from LSU, who's really good. They have Christian Kirk. So
they gave him so much money, though.
They gave him a lot. But, yeah, this team should obviously be better. Just to preview my picks, I'm going to pick them again. I picked them like 3 of the 4 games. I'm going to pick them again. But I think they do somehow right the ship. But, yeah, I mean, this is crazy. I mean, they started 8-3 last year. I'm pretty sure it was 8-3.
Yeah.
And then they like just like lost every like game going forward, and then 0-4 to start the year. But they're like right there. I feel like they got to get like a win, and then I think they will the wins will kind of pile up a little bit. But I don't think they can. There's no way they can win the division now.
Yeah.
They're already 3 games out.
Yeah, 0-4. I mean, I think they might have to fire Peterson mid-season. It's just
If they lose this week.
Oh yeah.
Is Joe Flacco starting this week?
They have Richardson as questionable. I don't know if they gave like an update on that.
Do we want to get into picks now?
We can.
Or do we have? Is there another team?
Or should we just like quickly talk about? Do we want to do 2 each? I don't know if we.
I mean, I was gonna say the Jaguars too. So like.
Yeah.
It's up to you guys.
Yeah, I think I don't have like. It's still kind of early.
Right.
You know, and
there's not really that many teams of really I mean, you can say like Miami, but they had the quarterback issues.
I think
it's not really.
I think the Eagles are. I just talked about them a little bit. I kind of think they're pretenders.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because their defense is so inconsistent. They gave up 12 against the Saints, and they gave up a ton against Tampa.
I don't like the coach, and I have to like the coach.
And while I'm a big fan of Jalen Hurts, he has not looked the same. I don't know why. Like
he's
he's usually a guy that can rally his guys together, but like I don't know what's up. I don't know if the money has gotten to him, and he's kind of like set back. But you like a lot of these guys do. And
I mean, to be fair to the Eagles, their last 2 games they did not have, or last game they did not have Brown and Smith.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is huge, but you know, they'll probably be a playoff team, but I don't see them doing all that much. This Sirianni guy, Belichick to Philadelphia. Watch out for that.
Well, there were like rumors about that.
I would not be shocked if that happened. I would not be shocked because that's what they need. They need a disciplinarian in there. Nick Sirianni's just like, you know?
Right.
So we should. Yeah, I'm gonna get into these picks.
All right, let's do it.
Let's go.
This is a good week of picks here, hopefully.
Yeah.
So wait,
do we have the standings?
Okay, we have because we did not have a show last week.
Yeah.
But we still made our picks, and we had 2 gentlemen have the biggest weeks we've seen yet. Jake Bell and our good friend of the podcast, Brian Cashman, both went 13-3 with their picks last week.
You can't say I don't know ball after last week.
You can't say that. And Nathan Schivins with a quality week as well, 11-5.
Quality week.
And yours truly, 8-8. The standard is the standard, boys. I've been picking a lot of too many upsets, and then just not a great week for me. But the standard is the standard. So here's the standings. Brian Cashman. I mean, this isn't a surprise. General manager. This guy is a top tier individual. He's in first place at 38-25.
Wow.
Over 4 weeks, Nathan Schivins and Jake Bell are tied for second at 36-27.
Respectable.
Yeah, respectable.
Yours truly, the standard is the standard at 32-31 in last place. So I have a long ways to go. I got to gain some ground this week. So I do got to brag though. I know I'm terrible with the picks right now. I'm not terrible, but extremely mediocre. But I'm having my best year against the spread thus far. I can't figure out how to pick these games, but I've been studying how to do the spread for a long time. Having my best year against the spread. So I got to start doing the Pirate Peyton podcast again soon so I can get my picks out there because like I'm cashing in. We're cashing in right now on some bets. But okay, let's go. What's the first? I'm gonna get.
All right, so the first game would technically be the Bucks at the Falcons, but we didn't pick them on time, unfortunately. That's our fault. But for this, Sunday, starting on Sunday, we got Jets at the Vikings. So who you guys got?
Yeah, so I didn't really put much thought into this one, but I'm gonna go with the Jets to get the upset.
Ooh.
I think the I've been picking against the Vikings like so much.
Yeah.
So I don't even trust my opinion at all on this. I'm probably way off, but I just think they're undefeated still. I don't think there's really a team this year that's really crazy good to be undefeated for a long way. Unless like the Vikings are like the Steelers of a couple years ago, where they just like started off like 11-0 and they were so like fraud. But I think they're better than that Steeler team.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna take the Jets to win. They're coming off a bad loss. I think they bounce back. I think it's a really good game though. I'm gonna take the Jets.
All right, Peyton, who you got?
I'm probably gonna take the Jets on the spread.
2.5.
But I honestly think that the Vikings are gonna blow them out. I just think there's no stopping the Vikings right now. The Jets are just structurally a mess. The O-line. I just it's a London game. I trust the Vikings more, and I was just hyping them up, so I got to go with the Vikings.
I am going with the Jets, and for two reasons. One, like you said, bad loss. Aaron Rodgers is going to come out with some type of vengeance because he's not going to want to start 2 and 3. And two, this is it's going to be in London, right? It's going to be a neutral site, so it's not like the Vikings are going to have this big advantage home. And I think this could. I mean, it's going to negate both teams having to travel all that way, but. I don't know. I think the Jets come out on top. I know it's weird to say Vikings have been the better team, but this is the NFL, so I'm going with the Jets. So,
as I was saying that the line was 2.5 for the Vikings, it just got bet down to 2. So like simultaneously.
We don't have Brian Cashman's picks yet. Brian, get your picks in. He'll have
the
them in by this
people
time.
are waiting there because he's number one for the picks.
But the next game we have is Panthers at the Bears.
Yeah.
Battle of the incompetents.
Yeah, DJ Moore playing his former team a little bit there, but the Panthers offense could like go off, and I think the Panthers. I'm gonna take the Panthers to pull off the upset. I think I was going with the Bears initially, but I think the Panthers can score right now, and
What's the line in that game? Bears are 4 on the road, right? They're on the road.
Bears are at home.
Bears are at home.
4.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Panthers can score right now with Andy Dalton through 2 games. I know they've played bad defenses, and the Bears defense is a little better, but can the Bears score enough? I think it'll be a high-scoring game. I could see either team winning, but I'm going to take the Panthers for an upset.
I'm going to go with the Bears. Their defense is not just a little better than what Andy Dalton, a lot better. The Bears defense is legit. And Caleb Williams is looking better. He's still like missing throws you'd expect him to hit, but I think he's slowly getting back. He's slowly just becoming himself. I think they might have to make, I don't know if Matt Eberflus is the guy. I don't know. They might need more of an offensive culture. Jaden Daniels obviously looks like the better guy. I think Caleb in the end will be equal to what Jaden is at least, if not better. But I think their run game was much. I know the Rams defense are missing so many guys, but their run game was better. Things looked a little better. It's still not smooth sailing, but it looked a lot better. Just a better team, better defense at home. I'm gonna take the Bears.
I've actually also got the Panthers. I'm just gonna ride with not the hot hand, but like Dalton. He's been decent. Panthers defense hasn't been great, but like you said, I think it could be high scoring, especially like you said, Peyton Caleb Williams is looking better. It's just I don't know, former team, that kind of in his eyes screwed him over, even though not really. I mean, we didn't expect Andy Dalton to start a full season with the Bears, but yeah, I mean, I think the Panthers come out on top of this one. And then next we have Browns at the Commanders.
I'm gonna take another upset. I'm gonna take the Browns to win this one too.
Really, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm really high on the Commanders. I really like the team. I just think they're due for a little bit of and the Browns need a win desperately. They haven't played well. They played good in some spurts against the Raiders. Their defense has to at some point just say, okay, no, this isn't happening, and just give up 10 points against somebody and win 16-10 or something.
Yeah.
I think that could be Jane Daniels. He's played so well, and good for him. And I mean, he's been excellent. But one of these games, as a rookie, you gotta have one game at least early. And he's had 4 pretty good games. So I'm gonna take the Browns to get a much needed upset win.
They're going 1-4. Give me the. Oh my gosh.
Commanders.
The Commanders. I mean, I've been picking against the Commanders, so now they'll probably lose. But I mean, if they couldn't beat the Raiders last week, there's no hope for the Browns unless they make some sort of quarterback change. It's just, and their defense hasn't been as good as you would expect. The Commanders are just much. They're just a team right now. The Browns are not a team because of D-massage. Give me the Commanders.
I had the Commanders originally, but now I've convinced myself to change it to the Browns. I think. I just think Jaden he's gonna have a good game, but I don't think it's gonna be good enough because the Browns defense is gonna do whatever they can to step it up, knowing that they're not gonna score much.
Who's at home in this game?
Commanders are at
Commanders
home.
are, yeah. It's weird to say. I'm switching the Browns. I mean, I've had good fortune. I'm probably gonna end up shooting myself in the foot here, but I have the Browns here. So
Well, like the one bad game really against for the Commanders was at home when they played the Giants, and they probably should have lost that game.
They found something again that Cincinnati game.
Yeah.
Something's really clicking.
Yeah, I
now.
agree.
And they were moving the ball, but I mean they should have lost that game to the Giants.
Right.
Yeah.
The Giants are better than the Browns with Daniel
Yeah.
Jones.
They beat them.
Let's
I mean, they
go.
beat
Daniel
them.
Jones
Let's go.
is better than D-Massage.
He is.
I mean, he is.
He is. That's a fact. That is a fact.
It's not saying much, but let's moving on.
We
Let's
got
move on.
Dolphins at the Patriots next.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That you wouldn't think that'd be that. I mean, you'd think, Dolphins, but like now it's like
Yeah.
you don't really know.
Tyler Huntley, I thought would be decent, and oh my god,
He's also new though, so it's like whatever.
But I mean, some of the throws, like
Yeah.
he can't hit a deep ball. Like it's
Yeah.
just like, it just makes me want to like not pick this game. Just go N over A. Not happen.
Right. Yeah.
Doesn't count.
Yeah.
Nobody. I have the Dolphins defense in fantasy this week. I have a feeling the Dolphins do get the win, regardless of who's quarterback. I just think the Patriots are bad. I mean, and their defense isn't very good. Tyler Huntley, like you mentioned, Jay. I mean, first week in the completely new system. I think he'll kind of adjust to a little better, get his kind of relationship going with Tyreek Hill a little better because he missed a few at least to Tyreek Hill. The one he had an easy touchdown. He beat Snead on the outside and just missed him.
Is Huntley starting this week again?
I'd imagine. Right?
Yeah, I'd assume so. But I don't even care. Whatever
Poor
quarter.
Michael McDaniel.
Yeah, do you see he was getting like so frustrated on the sideline during that
funny.
game?
He never gets mad.
Yeah.
That's the crazy part.
He was just like,
Yeah.
And that's my issue with I like Mike McDaniel, but I don't think he's enough of a disciplinarian to be a really, really effective head coach. I mean, the Miami's just this cool, we're fun team. There's no physical, there's no toughness, there's no seriousness with them, even with Tua.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just and Tua's just not very, and they're like, well, we have Tua, so we're fine. Tua's not good enough.
Yeah, he just delivers.
It's not
it
good
to
enough
these
against
fast
when
receivers.
you're facing Josh Allen.
Yeah.
It's not good enough. So wait, you picked
Dolphins,
the Dolphins. Who's at home?
Patriots.
I mean,
It's like the Titans game from last week,
It is,
where it's just
honestly,
like
yeah.
with the Dolphins.
oh
Yeah.
my god.
Or it's just like I'll pass.
I mean, I'll go with the Dolphins, I guess. I'm gonna go with the Dolphins. I don't even know at this point. Who's favored? Are
The Patriots are
by
1
a
point. Yeah, 1 point favorites.
Well, I'm going with the Patriots just because I feel like the Dolphins realize, and I think Mike McDaniel's being with the 49ers because they've done this before. They realize their season's over. I hate to say it, they're not gonna go all he's not gonna try to lose, but they're gonna focus more on next year. I truly believe just find guys that can do something and just build through the draft because they still have a good roster outside of the quarterback position and obvious some holes on defense, but I think they're gonna want to build through the draft, and who knows, could that be a quarterback? We'll see. I don't know. But it just all depends on the Tua situation. But I think Mike McDaniel's realized that his job's probably safe. I mean, I don't think ownership's going to give him too much crap for losing his quarterback and them having a bad season.
But I think McDaniel, after what they did last year, does he really want to give up on this season? I mean, I think they're going to come out probably hard. But the Patriots, I think the Patriots do play hard. They've been bad. I truly really have no opinion on this game.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm going with Patriots.
Yeah, it's a coin flip.
It is for sure.
It's not. It's an ugly coin.
Yeah.
It's not a
Yeah. It's like a dirty penny from 1985 or whatever. So now we got Colts at the Jaguars.
Oh, I gotta kick the Jaguars. They gotta win a game at some point.
They do.
I am like 1-3 in picks with involving the Jaguars or something, but I'm gonna pick them to win at home. They gotta win this game. They gotta get off the Ofer. They gotta get off the Schneid here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pick the Jaguars at home, although they could easily
And
lose.
The Jags, correct me if I'm wrong, the Jags are 3-point favorites. in
2.5.
this game, But I think
Wow.
it was
Yeah,
3.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, it
I
was.
guess because Richardson, you don't really know, but like, I don't think there's much of a drop off between him and Flacco, low key. I mean, Richardson has more of the potential, but like,
I think it's an improvement with Flacco.
Yeah, like-
to be
Well,
honest.
as a Michael Pittman fantasy owner, I'd much rather have Joe Flacco
Yeah.
in there.
Joe Flacco.
Dude, he owns the Steelers.
yeah.
Oh, am I going?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna take the Jags. I mean, I keep picking them too with Nate, and it doesn't make sense that they're favored in this game. I mean, the Colts came out with a big time energy last week against the Steelers. I like the Colts a lot. I think their defense is not the best, but they're gonna get better. They're one of those teams gonna get better. I like them as one of my sneaky teams this year. And I like the coach a lot. I think the offense is going to improve, especially if Flacco's in there. But it just doesn't make sense that the Jags are favored. So I'm going to take the Jags.
I'm also taking the Jags. They're 0-4, but we're picking them 3-0. So, yeah, I'm going with the Jaguars. I just think that, like you said, they're due for a win. Colts, like on the road, after a big win against the Steelers, they might come off a little flat, and it might just not be enough at the end. And the Jaguars did play a good game their last game. I think they're not back, but like they're at least looking like an NFL team. I'm going with the Jaguars here. Next we have the Bills at the Texans.
Yeah.
This is actually really good.
I gotta go with the Bills to bounce back this week. I think they got embarrassed against the Ravens. This Derrick Henry ran all over them.
Yeah.
I think this is a great game, though. I mean, this is a really good. Both teams 3-1. Both teams are gonna be in the playoffs and hope to make it to the Super Bowl. Diggs against the Bills, Josh Allen against Stephon Diggs, and all that. All the drama that
is
surrounded
true.
that.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that.
Wow.
I'm gonna take the Bills to bounce back and win, but I think it is a really good game. I'm gonna take the Bills.
Yeah. This feels like a bounce back spot for the Bills, and that's why I'm going with the Texans. I mean, and the Texans haven't looked all that good either. But this is going to be personal for Stephon Diggs. He's going to be getting the ball a ton. I think this is possibly a shootout. But I'm gonna go with the Texans. I'm just gonna go with the Texans. I don't really have like a great reason. I mean, I think the Bills probably win this game, but I gotta switch it up. I gotta. So you can't always go with what makes sense.
Yeah, I got the Texans as well, just because, like you said, they struggled a little bit at the beginning. I think they have been playing a little bit better recently, and I just think at home against the Bills, I just think they're going to come out top. This is just going to be a bump in the road for the Bills. They'll be fine. I mean, starting 3-2, they're not going to be. There's not much worry there. I think the Texans just come out on top today, or not today, but you know what I mean. Like they'll come out on top
Today.
this game. Yeah. Now we got Ravens at the Bengals.
Yeah, I mean, this game has kind of lost a little luster.
Yeah.
In terms of like before the season. I mean, I thought for sure the Bengals are right there with the Ravens. And really, I mean, their defense is pathetic. I mean, it's just not good right now.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can't pick them I picked them against the Panthers last week, but I was like, they could be a high scoring game, and it was. They're gonna have to win high scoring games, which they definitely can. But I just think the Ravens defense is better in the end. They'll get a stop or something. I think it'll be fairly close, but I think the Ravens will come out on top in this game.
So it lost the luster. That rivalry, it lost the luster. You said, right?
Well, I mean, just the matchup going into the season, just because the Bengals haven't looked as good.
We're bringing back the luster. I'm going
The
with the
luster.
Bengals, baby. Hooday!
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 I love whenever Bill Cowher said "Hooday" after they beat the Bengals. That was the funniest thing. That was their chant in the locker room. It was great.
I'm going with the Bengals. Yeah, it doesn't make much sense, but they need this game. They need this game.
Yeah.
They need it. And the Ravens looked like world beaters last week. Going with Cincinnati.
I actually agree with you. I'm going with Cincinnati as well. Home they
Two
need,
L's
yeah,
right here. Two.
Yeah. we'll see. We'll see what happens.
So you
but,
went with the Ravens, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
but yeah, there's not much really to explain about that on my part. But next we got Raiders at Broncos.
Oh
Yeah.
God.
Well,
Yeah,
this is another one where it's like
Oh, kill me. Just
it's a better matchup I think than Dolphins Patriots, but not by much.
there's a
They're
little
they're
more
better
interest.
teams. They're better teams overall right now, but like they're both gonna win like 6-7 games. But
Yeah.
Is this at Denver?
it's in Denver, which is I'm gonna go with the Broncos just because the home factor. But we've seen the Raiders play on the road really well. Last year and this year against the Ravens. But I think Raiders coming off a really big win. The Broncos are too. It'll be interesting. It should be a lower scoring game. I'm gonna take the Broncos, but the Raiders could easily win this game for
Yeah.
sure.
That's all I have to say about that game. I'm just kidding. Wait, who'd you pick? The Broncos?
I picked the Broncos at home.
What's
Yeah,
the line in that game?
Broncos -2.5.
Ugh.
So
I
about
mean-
evenly.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Broncos. Their defense, I think, is really, really good, and people aren't really talking about that. The Raiders, if Bo Nix is gonna have a good game, he did have one against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's defense isn't all that good. The Raiders defense, well, the Raiders defense is decent actually. I always think the Raiders defense is bad, but
They have been usually. They usually are,
Yeah.
but this year they are pretty good.
I mean, I just like the coach. I mean, this whole Devontae Adams situation is such a distraction. But the Broncos were a little lucky to win last week. You know what? I'm going with the Raiders. I'm going with
The
the Raiders.
Raiders.
I'm going with the Raiders. I'm going with the Raiders.
I'm actually going with the Raiders as well. I
Oh
think,
my
I
God.
know this is weird. Like I have this pre-written. You could see. Like I did not just write this now.
He's like
Either-
looking over. He's like
Yeah.
looking at your. He had the Broncos. He's like, "Who's Jake Bell's been hot recently?
Yeah.
Who's this mix?"
Yeah, but no, I got the Raiders. I think Bo Nix is gonna have a good game, but I think the Raiders just come out on top. I don't know
It's
why.
the Raiders.
Yeah.
It's the Raiders.
They're the Raiders, not the Raiders, so they're gonna win.
Raiders.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just the.
I'm
That's the
sure
explanation.
Brian Cashman's got them this week as well.
Yeah.
Although I have the Broncos defense. Should I just
It-
taken the Broncos? Oh my God.
It could have been a low. It could be a low scoring
Yeah,
game
yeah,
anyway. It
you
should be
never know.
close. It could be like 20-17 or
okay.
something. And then
Bardner will throw a pick six, but the Raiders will still win. Okay. What's the next game?
Cardinals at the 49ers.
yeah, I was thinking about picking the Cardinals.
I
mean,
was low key.
because the Cardinals have not looked good recently. The 49ers kind of dominated the Patriots. I think it's going to be a close game. I really do. Divisional matchup. These teams know each other. I think it's a pretty high-scoring game. The over-under is 50. I mean, it is going to be a pretty high-scoring game.
Yep.
I'm going to take the Niners, but I think it's going to be a really close game. Really, I think the Cardinals definitely cover 7.5.
Yeah.
It's at San Fran, right?
Yes,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, the 49ers just had that horrible loss against the Rams. Like, they're still a pretty good football team. They're getting healthier. The Cardinals, the 49ers have always cooked the Cardinals defense, it feels like. I think it is a high-scoring game. But the 49ers being at home, I'm going to take the 49ers here.
I'm taking the 49ers as well. It seems too obvious that you want to pick the Cardinals, but like I feel like the 49ers home. Come on, like give me the
Yeah.
Why do I
Lions, give me
keep-
Brock
I'm
Purdy.
screwing up what I'm writing. Okay, 49ers. Okay.
You were talking yourself into Cardinals as
I
you were
know,
writing
I saw-
somehow.
Yeah, I was like, no.
So next we got Giants at the Seahawks.
Yeah, I was thinking about. I was like, should I take the Seahawks defense this week? But no, because they just got destroyed against the
Well, they
Lions.
had like 4 D linemen hurt. in that
Yeah,
game.
but I'd
Yeah.
still. I think their defense is overrated. They played nobody through the first 3 weeks. But I am gonna take the Seahawks to win at home. It's a tough place to play.
Yeah, it is.
Up there in Lumen Field. And the Giants, they've looked better. I think they'll keep it close. Daniel Jones, like you mentioned, Jake. I mean,
Yep.
he's been pretty. Let's be honest, he's been pretty good.
Exactly.
He's
It's-
been.
Did you watch that Thursday night game last
Well,
week?
he
He
relative
can't throw the ball more than 10 yards down the field.
relative to expectations.
He's so bad.
all he needed
They
was
need
Malik
another
Neighbors.
quarterback. They need another quarterback.
He's
Yeah.
better than
They-
like.
What, you're gonna stick with Daniel Jones for the next 5 years? Like
Wait,
the
is-
Giants have the pieces. You need another
Is
quarterback.
Tyrod Taylor? Is he on the Bills now? Did I see he was on the Bills now? Or
He's
You-
back with the Bills.
maybe I don't. I can't remember where Tyrod
Tyrod's
Taylor's
with
at.
the Giants.
He's still with.
Or
He's
Or
still.
no, he's with the Jets. He's with the Jets
Oh,
now.
oh,
Isn't
the-
he? Isn't he backing up
Oh, the
Aaron?
Jet. I was which New York team? I was like, which New York
He's
team?
everywhere.
Yeah.
Tyrod.
But yeah, I'm gonna take the Seahawks to win. But I think it will be close. I think
Yeah.
if just get the ball to Malik Neighbors, that's what. If the Giants are able to do that a little bit, I think they'll have a little bit
What's
of
the line in
success.
that game? It's at
Seattle minus 6.5. I think that's a big
I
line.
think that's a big line.
I think that's
too.
a cover line for sure. The Giants have played better than I thought. I thought they were gonna be a dumpster fire
Yeah.
this year, and they've been
As
at
much
least
as I have my bias against Daniel Jones, or with Daniel Jones, I did think they were going to be last in the division.
right.
But they haven't actually been decent, like low key, even though they've been losing.
Are you taking the Giants?
Am I?
Yeah.
You know it, of course. Nah, I mean, this one I struggle with. Like, I was like,
Yeah.
Seahawks have been playing actually pretty solid. I know everyone's like, oh, they had a soft schedule. They didn't look bad against the Lions at all. Like, and
Yeah.
that's why I was like,
They're
being
gonna
home.
put up numbers
yeah, but
offensively.
I just feel like Brian Dable, he's gonna be he's gonna try to win this game every way possible. He does not want to have any shot at being fired. And I think the Giants just they
That
barely
GM
win.
needs fired for them.
Yeah.
Not
I
giving him Saquon back.
I think that the Giants barely win, but they win. Like, it could be within 3 points.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Seahawks. I think the injury report's gonna be interesting for this game. I mean, if are the Seahawks getting some of their defense back? I know the Giants were missing some corners last game. I may take them on the spread. The Giants, I probably will, but yeah, Seahawks at home. Yeah, I'm just gonna take the Seahawks. I don't know.
Next game we got, the last Sunday afternoon game, is Packers at the Rams. Or I guess it is not evening yet, 4:25. It's
Right.
afternoon. But yeah, Packers at Rams.
Yeah. Yeah, this one's interesting because both teams are coming off losses, but the Packers got embarrassed at home. The Packers, the Rams still have a ton of injuries. I think it will be close. I mean, the line's only Packers -3 on the road, but it will be like a home environment probably for the Packers almost. That's just the reality of the situation over there. But I think the Packers do win. I think it is a pretty good game because Matt Stafford's done a great job still. I mean, there's been, he's throwing a random, and the O-line is a bunch of random guys off the street basically. And he's going to be a Hall of Famer, I think, for a reason. And, I think the Packers do. Jordan Love Packers as a team bounce back. Sour lost a divisional game at home to the Vikings.
Are at home.
Packers are at the Rams.
Yeah.
So I'm
favored by 3.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Packers.
I'm gonna go with the Rams.
Ooh.
I'm gonna go with the Rams. Sean McVay knows how to keep a team alive. The Packers are gonna be fine. Jordan Love just not quite himself. Although he did gel, but they were down by so many points.
Yeah.
I hope maybe they get somebody back this week. The Rams. I don't know. I'm just gonna take my chances on the Rams.
Well, I'm gonna go with the Packers. I think that Love, his slow start just happened because he was hurt. I think that I know that the defense is gonna be stretched out after the Rams were dominating the entire game. Obviously, Love is gonna throw for a lot more yards, have a lot more success in the air. But I think or not the Rams game. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm like losing a little bit. But no, I think the Packers they'll come out on top. I think they click more, and it doesn't take till the second half for them to start getting it going. But the next one we have Cowboys at the Steelers.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think this is gonna be a fun game. Both teams, coming in. The Steelers, obviously that loss last week, sour loss for sure. And now I was hoping that the Cowboys, I didn't think it was going to happen. I was hoping the Cowboys would be favored because, Mike Tomlin as an underdog is just, so good. and they're favored, so that gives me a little pause. But I've been picking the Steelers a lot, but I am gonna pick the Steelers to win. I think it will be a fairly close game, just because I don't see the Steelers scoring a ton of points. Micah Parsons is out though; he's gonna be out for a little bit. I think that could be a difference. Although I don't think he's really in tier 1 of like pass rushers in the league. I think he's really good, but he's not consistent enough. Down in and down out.
Don't tell Matt Palangi that.
Well, I hope he's watching because I mean it's just facts. But sometimes
No ball, man.
sometimes the truth hurts. No, but I'm gonna go with the Steelers, and the bragging rights over Matt Palangi this week. They're at stake. This is a big game.
It is a big game.
It's a big game. Steelers.
Pittsburgh's going to the crushing the Cowboys this Sunday night, baby. Steelers
Dominant.
big over the Cowboys.
Big no.
Big B-I-G over Dallas this week, babies. And let me say something, okay, in all seriousness. This is a big game for the Steelers. I know it's the NFC, but like this is prime time for Justin Fields. He has to show the country what he's about because Russ is still lingering around there, right? He still needs to secure his job, in my opinion. And that was the best game of his career last week. Another guy this is big for is Najee Harris. He's making all these excuses. He's playing like a bum. Yeah. You're playing against the Cowboys' run defense. There's no excuse. You should have 100 yards rushing this game.
Yeah.
Cordero Patterson's going to be out, I believe. Jalen Warren's going to be out. Like, you're complaining you're not getting paid. You're making excuses. You're whining, moaning. Play football. Hit the holes. Put your shoulder down and get yards.
He's like dancing.
Score some touchdowns.
He's like dancing around there, and it's like, dude,
you're not Le'Veon Bell. You're slow.
Yeah.
That's not how you're like. And he does this at the beginning of every year, and then he catches on. And it's like, I'm just so glad we didn't pay him $7.5 million, whatever that was.
Yeah.
So, and the Cowboys are frauds, and I think this is a big game because everyone talks about how the Cowboys are frauds, but I think a lot of people believe the Steelers are frauds. So who's more fraudulent?
Yeah, and the division, like I think we all think the Ravens they're still the front runners to win the division. But if you lose this game and the Ravens win, and all of a sudden they're already a tie for the top of the division. So and that lead, the 3-0 start, and then their 1-2 start is completely gone. So in terms of that, if you're still holding out hope in that regard, this is also a big game for sure.
Well, I got the Steelers. You guys know
he never picks the
Steelers. Well, actually, I did last week. No, I picked the Colts last week, but I did pick the Steelers.
He picked them against the Falcons.
Yeah, I did pick them against the Falcons.
That's true.
I think I may have went against them the second game, maybe.
Against the Broncos.
No,
Was I?
No,
I did pick the Steelers.
I think I've gone against the Steelers the most, but I picked them to beat the Chargers.
I picked them to win like every. I picked them to win like every game except the first one.
I did pick the Chargers to beat the Steelers. Yeah. That's the one I was wrong about. But I'm going with the Steelers just because. We have the best home field advantage out of any NFL team. Like that's just how it is. And
no, we don't. We have the best home field advantage?
Well, I mean, like fans, like attendance, because like especially like on away games, like we have all these fans show up. Like as much as I'm critical about the Steelers, the fan base is there, and I think they're going to be loud, especially against the Cowboys, just because America's team. They're going
team.
They're going to want to see them.
Don't forget, the Steelers were offered to be America's team before the Cowboys.
And
already said, no, we're Pittsburgh's team.
Yeah.
So I'm going with the Steelers. But next, the last game is Saints at the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to make of the Saints. I mean, I don't think they're great. I think they're just like an average team, maybe slightly below average.
Yeah.
I think Derek Carr against better teams is, just not very good.
Yeah.
We saw, what he did again. They played like fairly competently against the Falcons, but going to Arrowhead is a different animal. I don't think the Chiefs will be very good. They haven't really been very good all season. I think it will be pretty close. I think the Chiefs do win, but I could see the Saints, like the Chiefs always have like one or two like these upsets because they're favored like every game every year. But there are these upsets you got to pick. I could see the Saints going in maybe. But I don't know if their magic's gone. Maybe their early Derek Carr Saints magic is gone. But I'm gonna take the Chiefs. But Saints could make that an upset for
Yeah.
sure.
Oh, when the Saints, oh, when the Saints come marching in, I want to be in that number when they give the Chiefs their first loss on Monday Night Football. The Saints, baby, the Saints are marching into Arrowhead, and they're gonna get the job done against Patrick Mahomes. Look, the Chiefs, they've been doing some Steeler bullshit lately. Okay, the Saints are a decent football team. They lost some close games recently. They need a game. They don't want to lose 3 in a row. I like Clint Kubiak. Derek Carr, he's had some good games against the Chiefs in the past when he's with the Raiders too.
That's
I'm
right,
down with
yeah.
the Saints. I always pick these Monday night upsets. They never work out, but we gotta get one.
I'm gonna let you guys in on a secret. I know the script for this game. It's gonna be.
He knows the script.
I know the
He's
script.
friends with the script writer.
It's gonna be 21-21. Chiefs are gonna have the ball. The Saints are gonna get called for a dumb penalty, even though everyone's gonna say, "Oh, that's the reason why they lost," and it's not the reason why they lost. I mean, it's a 21-21 game. Like, there's obviously other factors. People are gonna blame the refs on the loss for the Saints. Chiefs are gonna kick a field goal. It'll be 24-21.
I thought you were gonna say when he said it's gonna be 21-21. I was like, oh, so you're calling for the first tie of the season? It's
Imagine that,
21-21.
That would be. They're gonna go 21-21 now. Watch, like, that's gonna happen, and I could predict it.
Dude, if that happens, like, if you predict the script,
Yeah.
we gotta
No,
get
it's
this going
it's gonna be.
viral.
No, like
it's
if
gonna
you
be
predict
Tuesday.
it like it actually goes like 21-21, you like initially had that.
Yeah.
And it's just like a tie somehow.
Yeah.
That'd be crazy.
No, I think that's what's gonna happen. Some random penalty. It's gonna go all over social media. The Saints got
Like
screwed.
they did, like
even
the
though
Bengals
Yeah,
game,
exactly. Even
Bengals
though they had all the
Every game made
opportunities
the
in world.
Falcons one too.
Yeah.
Even though the Saints probably had a bunch of other opportunities in the game, but they're just gonna blame the whole game on the ref and that last play, and then the Chiefs kick a field goal. Harrison Butker walks it off, and they win 24-21. But yeah, that's all we have for NFL content. Is there anything else you guys want to add before we send things away?
Bro, Najee Harris.
Najee Harris.
I'm watching
Yeah.
you, Najee.
Najee.
He's watching you.
I'm watching you, Najee.
You
We're
need-
gonna have a real problem.
You need to have a chip on your shoulder
Let's
because
go.
we declined your 5th-year option, so you need to have a chip on your
He
shoulder.
looks like
no
he
excuses.
has like a book
Yeah.
bag on his shoulders.
Yeah.
The way he's
We're
running.
rooting for you, but we need you to do well. So yeah. Other than that, I think that's all we have. Thank you guys so much for watching. We are family. This was episode 10. This was more of a national coverage, but we still had a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, and Pitt. I just want to briefly mention Pitt,
Pitt.
trying to go to 5-0.
Yes, sir.
They're playing a North Carolina team that's all out of sorts.
Yeah.
Just take care of business. Get
Yep.
the W. 5-0.
5-0 for the
coming,
first
I'm
time since
afraid.
1991. Let's do it.
championship
Yes,
incoming.
yes.
College football playoff.
Yeah.
College football
Yeah.
hosting a ball.
Undefeated. Screw it. All right. Thank you guys so much
Thank
for
you,
watching. We'll
guys.
see you next week, and have a great rest of your day.
Peace.